Corinthians 5:10, we read, "For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, that each one may receive what is due him for the things done while in the body, or good or bad." This is a sobering warning to all of us. As we make decisions concerning the city's budget, take this warning seriously. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. And the other one doesn't want to be called either, Mayor, so I'm going to go. I am in full support of opening halls 19 to 27 at Tony Butler. I believe that opening these halls will help attract additional golfers to the course. I also believe that adequate financial resources should be provided by the city to help on the opening of halls 19 to 27. I ask that the mayor and city commissioners vote yes to support funding for the Tony Butler renovation. Alan, 1205 Hathaway Drive, Sycamore. Type this in.
Illinois, Sycamore, Illinois.
Yes. Reopen 9/17 and create 3 night hold courses during the months of January to March. Have monthly memberships with or without cards, tag like included. It is first member, 21 South Fifth Avenue, 60. As a winter Texan, I have enjoyed the pleasure of golfing at the Tony Butler facility, Chesapeake Park, Street, Eagle, and 19 to 27 weekly for a number of years, which was a very pleasant for me. It seems too well utilized by our parks as well as others. As well, golf the main course 1 to 18 several times each week. It would be a shame to lose this golfing asset in the valley. The next one, this one would like to be copied. So this is Robert Pegg, 1203 North Expressway 77, Unit 516. Hello, Mr. Robert Peck. This is Amanda Lizondo, City Secretary for the City of Harlingen. And
Yes,
and you have, sir, 1 minute to talk. You submitted a public comment form. So I'm going to start the clock and I'm going to stop the clock at 1 minute. You may start now, sir.
okay, what do we need?
Well, you submitted a citizens communication form to speak on the topic of the golf course. And you asked to be called,
Yes, yes, I did.
okay? I'm gonna start the clock now and you may continue, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, sir. You may-
Okay, the reason that I would like to see holes 19 through 27 reopened is our leagues from down there in many of our parks were playing those golf holes before the decision was made to close it. Many of our leagues went over to Stewart Place, but I know a lot of them would like to come back and play the golf course at Tony Butler.
Okay, sir, thank you.
Thanks, have a great day.
You too, sir.
Bye-bye.
Well, the next one there is Robert Rick Salinas, P.O. Box, Lightfoot, Texas, and he would like to be called. Okay.
Hello?
Hello, Mr. Salinas, this is,
Yes,
this is Amanda Lizondo with the city of Harlingen. You submitted a public information form to speak on the Tony Butler course.
yes,
Uh,
ma'am.
You have 2 minutes, sir.
Excuse me?
You have 2 minutes to speak. I'm gonna start the clock now. 1 minute, 1 minute.
Oh, hang on, man. I didn't know that there was another meeting. Is there another meeting today or what?
Yes, sir, we're holding a workshop right now.
Okay, and who's holding the workshop?
It's
Who is
a,
the entity? Is it the city or is it
it's a city, it's a city
the vice-
commission. The city commission.
okay, go ahead, ma'am.
You have 1
All right.
minute, sir.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, I am Mayor Rick Salinas from the city of Lyford. I attended the last city of Harlingen meeting, and I also was advocating the opening of the remaining holes for the reasons that everybody, all 37 people spoke there and other people that were present. Again, the spending to that was to the reopening of those extra holes was a small fraction of what was stated out there. And I want that to be kept in mind. Secondly, I think that, I don't know if the other people spoke on this, but you know, when my group goes to play golf, when I, as a coach, take my golfers to go play golf at a tournament or practice at that
So you
particular
have
golf
5
course,
seconds, sir.
we leave money at the restaurants, at the stores that we visit. Well, we are
Your time is
there
up,
to the
sir.
Tony Butler. Excuse me?
Go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
sir.
Please finish up, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Boswell. Yes, the students that I take there, and it's numerous, 20, 30 students I take there. When my buddies and I go, we get there, we visit a taqueria and we eat breakfast. After we finish our golf course, we go and to a restaurant and enjoy a round of golf, and we leave money there at the city college, and we do the same. Everyone that goes to play golf there does there. Those dollars aren't ever counted towards the golf course because they're not really seen, you know. But I think there is more than just what they pay as green fees. And one last thing, you know, the service that a golf course does to the community is unmeasured. And I know it costs money, but I think it's in everyone's interest and an asset to the community at heart. Thank you, Mayor Boswell.
All right,
Thank
thank
you,
you,
sir.
Mayor.
Now we have Mr. Ken Kemper, 2801 East Harrison Avenue, unit 49. He didn't indicate whether to be called, so I'm gonna go ahead and read the phone number, but he didn't say yes. I'm gonna go ahead and read this comment. because he doesn't-
Yes.
It says, I am a Carl Winter Texan from Wisconsin. I am asking the budget committee to provide the funds needed to open polls 19 to 27 in time for the winter Texas practice season. Please do not make this political football. This issue should be treated like any business item. Use your best common sense knowledge and provide the solution post. Elliot, Tim Elliott, and we need his comments. So he doesn't say no. Commissioners, as you discussed the budget to reopen Tony Butler Halls 19 to 27, consider the information the National Golf Foundation revealed. Course condition was the main reason golf course lost customers, not lack of golfers. Jeff Hart and his team have improved course conditions and customers and are returning. Rounds of golf did not show a need for holes 19 to 27. Today, rounds of golf are at a good reach 40,000 rounds. By fiscal year ends without holes 19 to 27. Do not fall for this city management budget proposal. It is out of line and non-substantial. The alternative budget proposed by myself and Chris Nicklin address all the needs in a more responsible way. Do the right thing for our student, the golfers, new golfers, senior golfers, and our golfing families. Better quality of life. Thank you. And then the last one, Mayor, is Ron Lozano, and I don't know if he's present or not. So I don't believe Ron Lozano is present, so I'm gonna give him a call.
Did it take you long to solve?
You know? He only gave us that phone number, but he
Okay.
did not say.
Right. There are no other comments, right?
No.
Okay. All right, that concludes all of the comments. Thank you all. One is the presentation by highest ranking firms for present RFQ, architecture, engineering services, and project management for Arlington Multimodal Transit Terminal.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending our workshop today for City Commission. We will be hearing presentations from the 4 shortlisted firms for architectural and design services and project management for the terminal. We do numbers a little before the workshop started, and so the order that we're going to follow is firm by number 1 will be Negrete, and number 2 EXP, number 3 Ego City, and number 4 will be GMAC. And so we're going to be asking the firms if you could please step out, and that way, you know, each can present their information to the City Commission, and once it's your turn, we'll call you up over here. So let's start with the record.
All yours.
All
Thank you. Good morning, Arlington City Commission. It's a pleasure to be back here again with you to present our qualifications. We've been here in the past a few times, and we will again be here for your consideration. This is Negrete for and architects for the transit terminal RFQ that we have put out. This is our staff and our team. Our staff members are Estamos Zamora, Andres Marta, and Miguel Tony, and with Captain Associates. So,
Mind putting the microphone up closer to your, there we go. Thank you.
Thank you. That way the live streaming picks it up. A little bit of our qualifications. We're a firm that engages in many different types of projects throughout Central Texas, and then projects in East Texas, West Texas, and a lot of them down in the Rio Grande Valley. We have a 2-office established method of doing our work. Our central office is in Austin, and the second office in Edinburgh that's been operational since 1995, fully operational. Just a little bit about our staff people, myself, Jason, Bruce in Austin, Andy and Stellan, and all of you. We have Chinese offices in McAllen, doing work throughout the Rio Grande Valley in Central Texas. Happen Associates, well known throughout the country, well known throughout the state of Texas and the Rio Grande Valley. Trey Murray, located in Arlington. Right in this They've been involved with us as well on transit projects for the city of McAllen, the original McAllen Transit Terminal, downtown McAllen, as well as the most recent one that we did is going into construction, transit terminal, transfer station on North Buddy Owens. We're also up to date with what's going on with the buses with regards to the powering of them. It seems now that many electric buses will be powered by a very unique charging method, an indirect, non-connected method. Kind of like our iPhones when we set them on. That's, the type of work that we've done has been complementary but different. We've done quite a bit of work in transportation, work with bus transit, moving transit terminals, bus support facilities, public architecture with public works where they repair facilities. We did one here in the city of Harlingen for LRGBC several years ago for your local transit metro system for LRGBC. It's next to the fire station on right off of And so other than that, we have supporting design with office building that goes with this type of work. We've done several alleviation projects that again are similar but not the same, but they do with transportation and with how people enter a facility, how they utilize the facility that offers public transportation to them. A lot of our work is in the municipal arena as well, dealing with law enforcement, office design, all different kind of applications. Currently here in Harlingen, we are doing a major renovation of the Harlingen Border Patrol for the federal government. We're also starting a couple of projects on the VA clinic, project renovation on the interior. So we are in the area, we've been in the area. Community centers as well, and parks and recreation. All of these different kinds of projects have a major impact on how public architecture is expressed and utilized. A few of our case studies and this type of work include the McAllen Intermodal Transit Terminal that we completed almost, I think it was well over 20 years ago now. We followed up with an expansion of the facility. Both of those projects continue to be serving the city of McAllen very, very well. Many people go through there on a regular basis, located in their downtown location on Business 83. We just recently finished one from the Edinburgh, city of Edinburgh, referred to as the Edinburgh Transit Terminal. This was a little more unique in that we had a very limited amount of property to implement this project. It also includes something new for the city of McAllen. It's a park and public works. You can see there right below the flag is a mosaic that Esteban designed on the history of the city of Edinburgh. It helps to connect the people with the culture of the towns in which they grew up and how they belong. We did another transit terminal project. This is for the city of Donna, the bridge location, where basically they're welcoming people from Mexico who just want to park their cars and take buses to shopping destinations. This is the project we did here in the city of Harlingen for bus maintenance and storage purposes for LRGBC. This is our most recent one that is going into construction. Metro transfer station on 23rd and Buddy Owens. Again, these are the type of things where the public can appreciate what it is that they're arriving to, how to utilize it, and the opportunity that it gives them to use public transportation. In this case, the city of McAllen, and we have done this project almost 20 years ago, wanted us to make it a little bit more than just simple. The prior one that you saw sitting down was a little simpler. Just to get that public excitement about art and architecture in public spaces. This is a method that we use to help the people who are making decisions how these projects will evolve, how they may look, when they're utilized. We use 3D video capabilities that we have to help present to the public and to the decision makers. Vision and goals, project approach. The project approach is really the most important thing that will result in the best project that you can have. The vision is yours, the community leaders, the city commission, the city of Harlem. We help interpret the vision so that we can draw from you the things that are important to you, the things that you know your community will best benefit from. As we interpret that vision, we continue to start to collect data on how this facility needs to be designed, what are the code implications, what are the ordinances that affect it, this environmental location of it, have an impact on what the design would be. To then help refine or define your program as to what should go in this bus terminal and this public service architecture. Everything from do you need office space, how much waiting areas, what you see, all of this is a result of the data that we've collected. So in programming this, we meant to put everything into mathematical terms. And how big does this need to be? Everything costs as a factor of how much of their particular thing there is. So all of these things have a big impact on what the final cost will be. And from there, we'll go into concept studies to begin to discuss with you graphically what all this means in the decision-making process. So our project approach then really turns into doing all sorts of graphics and calculations and things that begin to relate to your interest in the project. We accomplish this really basically through management and communication, both with our team internally and with the appointed person or the group from the owners group, so that we are all always on the same page. With the city of McAllen, in that process, we must have throughout the design process, we ended up doing like every other week a meet and review the process of design, budget, and what have you. This the way to have a successful project is with that good quality assurance process and procedures program, where we look at how it's being designed, we look at what potential costs are, we look at what code implications may require. This quality assurance process continues throughout the design and design development and construction document process, so that at the end of the day, we can be what you want to. All of this is predicated on cost control. And to that, we pay a lot of attention to what's going on in the market, how the tax. We utilize cost estimating method that's based basically on acquired data, also published data that we see. We keep in touch with the local agency here in Harlingen as the projects that are being bid. We just keep quality terms. These are a few case studies on the ability to deliver on what budgets should be. At the end of the day, all of our work, you can see right here, ends up coming pretty close to what we project. Historically, the pandemic was a little bit of a big leap here recently due to the shortage of materials, the pandemic was interest involved with executing work, etc. The one in the city of McAllen came in something like 35% above our last projection a year earlier. Problem was that steel double, copper from twofold on and on and on. We did an analysis for them. We went back to the federal sources. The federal sources covered it in the means. Because everyone understood what the problem was. But the challenge for everybody is that we never seem to go back to what costs used to be. We're always we're plateauing and moving forward as a society, as an economy, etc. So we always have to be realistic about what are things going to cost. And so we know that that's crucial in order to deliver the product. Again, this is like a final presentation we did to the County City Commission on what the project may look like. At the end, with all the design and the material and the systems that we have agreed upon, and how it can be utilized. This is important so that the community can see what their leaders are engaged in and what they're going to do. Any questions you all might have? I'd like
Does
to
anybody
welcome
does
any-
anybody have any questions?
I like the 3D model.
We would just want anything, anything built in Crawford will look a whole lot better than one built in
Yeah.
town.
Get the M off of any.
Everything
All right.
is unique and we designed for the uniqueness of the farm.
All right, we appreciate your presentation. Thanks. If there aren't any questions, thank you. And
Thank you very much. I'm glad.
thanks a lot.
Can you bring the drink? The workshop today.
Did you give them a time?
Yes,
15
15
minutes.
minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, so she called up.
All right, you were watching.
Yes.
Yep. So you're ready, we're ready whenever you're ready.
Good morning. Thank you for having us. Firm is EXP, and I have. Okay. I'm Hooray Homie. I am a project manager and architect with EXP.
Good morning, my name is Tom Huff, I'm principal design architect with DXP.
I'm Zira Maldonado, position project architect with EXP.
Good morning, my name is Sam Garcia. I'm the principal of Sam Garcia.
Good morning, I'm Saul Lucas. I'm with B to Z Engineering.
A little bit about EXP. EXP has been in business since 1906. We are a full architecture and engineering firm, meaning that we have all disciplines of engineering in-house. We work in a variety of markets that have a particular expertise in transportation facilities. Specifically, transportation facilities that are designed to reflect the vision of the community and the cities that they are located in. We have 5 offices in Texas. And while we don't have one in the Valley, we have partnered with Sam Garcia Architects and with B2Z Engineering to ensure that as a team, we have people here that can continuously be responsive and that are also aware of any local influences and conditions. We didn't just Google the 2 firms that we decided to partner with. We actually have a connection. Sam and I studied architecture together at the University of Texas, and that's where we met and have remained friends ever since, which is quite a while now. Yeah, and have actually partnered together on some projects, including a project here in Harlingen at the Valley International Airport. I have a personal connection to the Valley in that I'm from Harlingen, my hometown. I went to St. Albans for elementary school down the street. I went to the Science Academy for high school, which is actually where I took my first architecture course and knew that that's what I wanted to study. My mom was a professor when Pan Am was called Pan Am for many years. My father and my uncle are local physicians in the area. And we were actually joking that my dad's house down the street is going to be called our RGB office because we've been spending a lot of time around his kitchen table and kitchen island as a team preparing for this presentation in our submittal. So technically, maybe we do have a Valley office now. Now let Sam and Saul talk a little bit about their firm.
Yeah, as Ray mentioned, my name is Sam Garcia. I'm principal of Sam Garcia Architect. We're based in the county. We have a strong connection with the Valley. The first project I ever got to sign and seal was actually located in Harlingen. Several projects in Harlingen. So that's why I really
Good morning, everybody. My name is Saul Lucas. I'm with B to Z Engineering. It's a local firm based out of Mission, Texas. We do provide a multitude of services, including engineering, and then we also do GIS and have laboratories located in our Mission office. We will perform the geotechnical services for the project and lay out the solid foundation for the project.
Thank you, gentlemen. As I mentioned, EXP has a deep breadth of experience in transit projects. We do these types of projects all over the country, from the north to of these projects may vary in scale, in size, in budget, and in the project's goals and ambition. What's similar with all of them is that they're designed to meet the needs of the users. They're designed with a focus on maintainability, durability, and to be within budget, and most of all, to have a positive user experience. I've seen Harlingen grow tremendously and change over the last decades. And because of Harlingen's geographic central location in the valley, it has so much opportunity. And I'm so excited to be here talking about such an important project, a transit terminal that's important, not just for the city of Harlingen, but is important for the Rio Grande Valley in general. I'm very impressed and excited about the One Vision, One Harlingen plan and how it continues to push the goal of Harlingen being the center of the valley or the hub of the valley, so to speak. I know that you are, as our elected officials, charged with leading are currently at this moment looking to the future. And we are excited to be part of a project that has the opportunity to continue to push Harlingen to become a powerhouse of economic development and quality of life. That being said, I'm going to hand it over to Tom to let me discuss our design process.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having us again. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the projects, and Elzira and I will do that, but also just a little bit about our design process. As Hooray mentioned, all of the projects that you see that have been included in our submission vary in scale, in reach, in ambition, and they all reflect, that's because they all reflect a different context and the different people that those buildings, those facilities were built for. Our design process is very iterative. We engage with the users, with the community, with stakeholders to the extent that is desirable and warranted. And it's an iterative process where we go through many options, many alternatives. We build models, we do videos, we do VR work. It starts out as raw sketches and in public meetings and things like that, and eventually grows into a process where sometimes we do full-scale mock-ups, which you can see in some of the images here, a project that actually Hooray and Elzira and I worked on in Saipan for a United States courthouse. The projects are all durable, they're maintainable, and they're all designed to meet the requirements of the transportation facilities that is the agency that is going to be maintaining them, paying for them, and so on. And the other thing I would say about the designs is that they are integrated through all disciplines. We have Saul here as a geotechnical engineer, but our office itself is a fully integrated architecture and engineering office. So we have all of those disciplines in-house, and all of that matters to come together to create a really integrated solution. Just to touch on a few projects, we work across many scales. So the project that you see here, for example, the 95th Street Terminal Station on the south side of Chicago, is a very large-scale project that brings together as a terminal hub intercity trains, intercity buses, and intra-city buses and regional buses, Uber and Lyft, bicycles, pedestrians, and so on. And so it has to work at a scale of both the big city, and in that way become, as was charged by the mayor, to be this iconic gateway as an entrance to the south side of the city. But then it also has to work at a pedestrian scale, a small scale, for people that are going to be using it from the neighborhoods. And so the architecture and the engineering responds in both of those ways in a powerful way.
It is a different station. It's on the north side of Chicago, the Jefferson Park station. The station is next to a highway, and it is in an industrial park neighborhood. The neighborhood is not like the side over here at the Harlingen Terminal. This station serves buses, urban and suburban trains, bike parking and riding, and ride sharing as well. The station throughout landscape and parkscape provides a plaza entry that you can see there as a connection from the pedestrians to come from the neighborhood into the station and then ride into the city itself. The Belmont Station, this is in a much tighter site. It is inside of the neighborhood, and the butterfly canopy creates an iconic structure. The station that is beautiful and then functional, it incorporates art, and it responds to the community that is in. The station incorporates art, as I said before, and lighting underneath, which creates a secure space as an entry to the station. The MARTA station is a multimodal transit station, and it's a terminal hub that is outside of the city of Atlanta. The scale of the project is similar to the scale of the project here at Arlington Terminal. This terminal serves city buses, urban trains, private carriages, taxis and car share, and bike park and ride. The design of this station focuses on funneling people from their point of arrival, as you can see, is at different points of the station, so funneling all the people, all the users into the building. The station, through the incorporation of lighting and art, and some sun-shade shelters provided along the way into the building. They provide wayfinding from different points, and it creates a secure space as an entry to the station. Again, at the point of entry to the station, we can see how the scale of the building changes into incorporated art and landscape and hardscape. We bring the scale from the big parking lot that the station is on into more of the pedestrian scale to enter safely to the station.
So just one of the things that we would reiterate as well is with respect to design, site design, especially the site that we have here at Arlington, is the scale and how people, when people arrive, just getting from their cars or from their bikes or from their Ubers to the building and so on, the site landscape, et cetera, and how those elements are not just elements that provide light, for example, but they also create security and all that, and so they're functional, but they're also done artfully, so that they create this sense of environment that really becomes the gateway to the valley. The project that you see here is the Washington Wabash elevated station, and the other thing I would mention is, as I talked before about integration of all of the design disciplines within buildings. Structures. In many cases, when we're building terminal stations, they do have, say, an office component, a material component. But they also have the need for canopies, and oftentimes that canopy, as we say, the architecture is structure is architecture, and so they're really all kind of one thing. Having all of the engineering in-house really gives us the ability to do integrated solutions. So, for example, in this image, you're seeing the lighting, the signage, the drainage, everything is incorporated into the structure, so there are no extraneous elements. It makes it easier to maintain. It makes it easier to repaint when that happens, and it makes it easier for serviceability as well. In this particular case, one of the challenges was to try to keep pigeons on, so there's nothing there that they can. Well, those are real things, and it matters. And so if you solve those problems artfully, you can really get kind of a we think a beautiful solution. So, and one last thing I would mention is, in addition to architecture, structure, mechanical, electrical, lighting, etc., we also have an in-house construction group. So we work with that team as we are in the design process, so that as we design, we're getting input on material availability, constructability, details, and things like that, so that it really it means that we're not designing in an ivory tower and then saying, okay, let's take this to market and see if it works. It's a process, as I said at the beginning, it involves you, the users, to come to the solution. It involves all the architects and engineers as we go through that process, and then it involves our constructors as well. So, thanks.
So in conclusion, first of all, thank you again for allowing us the opportunity to speak here. We are very passionate about what we do. We love what we do. We're excited to be here, the possibility of working with you in the future. So any questions?
Anybody have any
So
questions?
you had mentioned that you're doing projects in Arlington. What are you doing in
So we have a,
I'm sorry.
oh, sorry, Sam, sorry.
So currently, I'm working on a private project. Spending in Fort Attic, Bill Johnson, some work.
Yeah, you said you had several projects in Harness. What are you currently working on?
That's the one that I'm currently working on. I've had several of them. Well, so the Attic, we've done work at nursing home. That's commercial projects. Goodwill,
All right, any other questions? All right, well, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks very much.
So, that was Sharif or Max?
Yeah. Nice to meet you. I will.
Thanks for the firms. I'm Mario Peña. I'm one of the co-founding partners of Able City Architecture, Urbanism, and City Making. With me is Aaron Hanley. We'll give you all a few details of the team leadership, us being the 2 points of contact that would be in place to service this project. And with us on the line are Eduardo Parra, Ed Galindo, and Greg Goodman. And we'll talk a little bit about that. I'm not sure if I click that. No. So a bit about Able City. We are a firm that began our journey into a firm that is approaching design and building cities in a slightly different way. We became a mission driven firm maybe 10 years ago as we began our journey into planning the cities we began to work in. Our origin is the city of Laredo. We now have offices in San Antonio and here in the Valley in Mission. So as architects wanting to make an impact in the cities we worked in, we were a bit frustrated with just the practice of architecture. And so we began to venture into the planning world. We began to hire urban designers. I myself became a certified planner a few years ago. And so in the sort of expansion of the practice to make a better impact just beyond the sort of single site architecture, we found that, not only planning and policy are important, but for that to be adopted, you really need to connect with people and listen to the community. So that we expanded into what we call city making. So we built out a team of experts and organizers that help us connect with citizens to figure out what they want to do with the cities and how they want to build better cities into the future. Beyond that, one of our partners is an economic developer, and so we have that portion. So understanding the finances and becoming stewards of the public funds that we're in charge of implementing into a building is very important. So integrating all of that perspective, especially when dealing with public funds, is a main topic of concern for our office culture, the way we practice in the office. Moving on, so this is our org chart of firms. We have put a team together that has been working for the last 10 years. There is no learning curve for any of our team members working specifically in transit agencies. This is our transit agency team. It is led by a firm with a local presence, with a local office here in the Valley. So So just getting into a little bit of the details with who's doing what, just picking out some key consultants. We have the Goodman Corporation. Greg Goodman's on the line. Greg, can you chime in here for a sec?
Sure, and thank you, City Commission, for having us. Basically, what the Goodman Corporation has been doing since its inception is getting grant funding for mostly transit projects. My father started the firm in 1980, and we have a huge emphasis on federal compliance oversight, where we represent our clients and make sure that they follow all federal guidelines as per the grant opportunity that they have followed, or whatever the federal funding is involved. And this is from the bid phase to where the procurement package is being put together, through the pre-construction process, and then throughout the construction following Davis-Bacon. There's a lot, and then we've been basically educated in the FTA paradigm, so it's one of the most stringent with respect to federal guidelines to follow.
Sorry, I'm gonna cut you off because we're
Got
running long with the time. Thank you very much. So along with Greg, another person to point out is Ed Galindo, who's been working in the transit industry as a design architect for over 40 years, and his experience all over the world is we've picked him out to help us with any programmatic needs we need at the beginning. So he sort of does our quality control to make sure that all of your needs are met programmatically at the beginning of the design. Overall, again, like I said, this team has been working together for 10 years on transit facilities. Just quick intro to myself. I'm a registered architect. Like I said, I became a planner a few years ago. I have 12 years of transit and fleet maintenance experience. I'm the project manager for our contract as the architect of record for VIA in San Antonio. Same goes for quite a few projects we have in Laredo with El Metro, and we're working with Real over in Alice, Texas, and working on some rural projects too. So with that, I'll move on over for Aaron to introduce himself.
Mario, good morning. I'm Aaron Handy with Able City, and I am the principal in charge of our Valley office, just up the street in Mission, Texas. Although the office is in the central or upper valley, depending on who you talk to, I am very familiar with the lower valley as serving as a planning director for one of your fellow Cameron County communities down at FBI. Able City is also very familiar with the valley. Mario mentioned our origin story is in Laredo, so we serve another border community, and we've been in South Texas and the valley for 40 plus years. On top of that, we know transit. As Mario mentioned, this team has been together for 10 plus years. And so we know the valley, we have that regional knowledge, and we have national expertise in transit projects, which I'm going to let Mario go over a few examples of our projects.
So a quick overview of team experience. This is just our long list of transit facilities that we worked on together, followed by a list of government agency projects that, it's really just it's there to show our, vast repertoire of work. Overall, we work with 11 transit, we worked on over 11 transit facilities, and we have 60 plus transit agency projects. So picking out from that list, just a few of the projects that we think are relevant in size and scale and potentially budget with the project that you have in hand here. This is the Palomino Hub for El Metro. This is a transfer hub that links the rural agency El Águila with El Metro. It's a place where the urban transit system transfers passengers back and forth from the rural agency. It's a place that is designed as a third space. Wait times aren't always ideal, so we want to make these places comfortable for people, ideal for them to do other things other than just wait. So there are social places, comfortable places you want to be in and you don't feel like just waiting. So they're designed specifically in that way. Next is our transit facility in Real. This is a LEED certified silver administration and maintenance facility. One thing to point out here is with the help of the Goodwin Corporation, and Able City has been contributing quite a bit to this, we have helped them raise the funds necessary to get now into the final completion of the plans and specs, and we're moving on to the next phases of funding pursuits for the first phases of construction. So all of those services for fundraising are completely integrated into our services at the beginning of the project. Next is the El Metro Transit Center in Laredo, Texas. This transit, it's got almost the same program as the one in Alice: maintenance, operations, administration. It is designed as a seed for the Laredo's first multi mixed use development along one of our major arterials. So it's about planting the seed of walkability along with transit. And we'll talk a little bit about how important that is for a metro system to be tied into compact mixed use development. The photo on the left shows our $9 million grant we helped write. So those $9 million are now being used to implement the first phase of that. Different type of transportation. This is the Airport Federal Inspection Station in Laredo. We brought this up because we just wanted to illustrate the complexity that we can help you work through as you manage different stakeholders in a facility. We had to work with Mexican customs, US customs, and the city of Laredo to make sure that this program responded to all of this security and programmatic needs of these very different agencies. This is the first place in the country where Mexican customs is actually operating in the US side. So we had to work with them to make this building respond to their needs as well. So next for the approach, 5 minutes.
We understand that any successful architecture project requires a good foundation of understanding the needs and goals of the project. So we start every project with data collection, analysis. We review existing planning documents from every entity that might have a stake in this project. And then we sit down with project leadership and really establish a vision and goals for the project so that we know, how to measure success and how to create a successful project. We overlay that with our transit and national experience to really, benchmark best practices for the facility. I'll add also that, one of our partners is the Fitwell Ambassador, and he has ties to the Center for Active Design and CDC, which has led to us being on the forefront of sort of COVID protocols. The jury's still out on how the pandemic will affect public transit, but I think we're the right team to sort of help you analyze that and figure out what that means. That all boils into sort of the space requirements of the program for the facility. We don't just meet with, project leadership. We want to meet with all the stakeholders. So the bus drivers, the maintenance staff, the riders, everyone that might have an interest or a perspective on how to use the facility. And then as Mario mentioned, we understand that every project is rooted in a place, and we really focus on creating connected urbanism and walkability. So connecting the project site to the assets around, because this is just a transfer hub, it's also a terminus for Sunlight. So how do the bikes and pedestrians, private vehicles get there? So that's going to be a huge emphasis from our team. We also understand that transit projects are complex. So that's why we got Greg Goodman on the line to talk a little bit more about federal compliance and then some of the other sort of procedures we handle related.
Great, we got a warning about 5 minutes, so we got about 4 minutes. Thanks.
Greg, I don't know if you want to add a couple more highlights.
Just emphasizing the importance of this and a firm like ours that is out to protect the client for compliance and triennial audits in the future is pretty crucial for anybody. So with a facility like this, that's what we bring.
We provided peer review with other agencies in Texas to sort of bang on our design before we take it from schematic all into construction documents. So we have lessons learned from other agencies that we adapt into our design. Budget control throughout the entire project. We have milestone periods built into our schedule to make sure we're under your budget. Same thing with quality assurance and quality control. Taking these periods and milestones to really formalize our peer review within the office and with your team to make sure we've captured all of your comments and we're delivering the project that meets your needs completely. With that said, just want to note that our relationship with our public agency clients has gone back and continues for 40 years. So we're here beyond construction. We're here to make a long relationship with Harlingen, and so we're here beyond this close-up period. We're here to stay. Is the time up? I'm not sure if the time's up. 1 minute. Thank you. So just to close it out, we just want to remark that we're an integrated city-making firm interested in creating communities that are transit-centric and not auto-centric. We're a locally led project team with the expertise here locally. We're committed to improving this community and all the communities we work for. We ourselves are community advocates. We innovate and lead in planning, which is important. It's just vitally important for transit. The owners and principals are fully present. You're talking to the people who are going to work on your job. And then, of course, an important part here in the Valley is most of our professionals are bilingual. We all speak Spanish, or most of us do. 95% of our staff speak Spanish fluently. And so, we're proven, and we integrate transit. We have all that transit experience nationally and locally.
All right, thank you very much. Anybody have any questions?
One question. How successful are you obtaining the grant funding?
How successful are we? I think that's a question for Greg for stats, and I think Greg can speak to specifically the amounts of funding that we've been successful in achieving for our clients. Greg, go ahead.
Just in brief, TGC since its inception has gotten over $1.5 billion in grant funding for our clients. We stay on the latest opportunities. Right now, there's a lot of EDA money that's coming out. Earmarking has come back. That is an opportunity there. There's opportunities through TxDOT. We really stay abreast on all of it so that we can help our clients get the funds that match the project.
So one other thing to note is typically when there's seed money, TxDOT or FTA, they're interested in you finishing the job, right? So what the Goodman Corporation does is they stay on top of that project and they make sure that that project is at the forefront of FTA and TxDOT. Make sure that there's updates regularly so they know that you're advancing with the project that you began with. They want you to succeed as much as you want to succeed. So just keeping on top of it is a big deal. And so again, part of our doing just that.
Mario, if I may add, this is Eduardo Parra. And we work together, not only with your staff, we work together with your local congressman, congressperson office and senators, just to be able to tell them the full story on what you're doing. And that has proven very successful in the past, especially when we got almost $10 million to the city of Laredo for the transit facility, working with the Congressman Cuellar's office and understanding the needs of the federal government to provide those grants and the need locally on receiving those.
Thank you for having us.
All right, thanks very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
I'm Logan with the program members. What's your first name?
I'm standing in for it.
You're one of the back. What name? Not one of the ranking. Oh, the
So we're going to introduce ourselves through the presentation, but we are Connect Architects and Engineers. We have offices in Corpus Christi, Farmington, and McAllen. We'll talk to you a little bit about our farm experience. We feel like we have more multimodal and transportation experience than anybody in South Texas or Valley. And we've teamed up with, we've been here for 30 years. We are a hub firm, and we will we have teamed up with WSP. WSP is been working with us for about 15 years. They are partners in this project, and they are the nation's leading transportation solutions firms. They're architects and engineers. They do transportation projects all over the United States. As I said, they've been in business. We've been in business for 30 years. We understand that there's certain things that we have to comply with here. ADA compliance. We have a 3% DVE participation by America. I assume this is all because it's FDA funded and staying within budget and delivery. These are our transit public work facilities records and experience. Office and administration experience, a lot of municipal experience, some of it here at Holland. We have municipal experience here at Holland, and 3/4 of the list is all the work we've done over the years for Harlingen Consolidated ISD. Began at Harlingen in the late 80s with a roofing project, and we've done probably 40 or 50 projects for the district since. So my name is Frank Stack. I'm principal in charge. All of us in the room are principals of the firm, and we are the folks that are going to do the project and lead the project.
My name is Nick Janak, with Janak Architects. I have about 13 years experience. I've worked on a number of transit stations and multimodal stations, Corpus Christi and in the Rio Grande Valley. And I will be project manager on here and designer.
My name is Juan Nico Jr. I'm a Valley Office Manager for Connect Architects. I've been with the firm for 21 years. I actually opened up the branch office in 2000. I have a multitude of experience in municipal work, school district work, any public entity we've done work for. I have that experience, and I have experience here. We actually did the fire station some time ago, and some work for public entities as well. So we have a long history where Harlingen is here. We have a vested interest in the community.
And quickly, Mark Probst is not here. Mark is our partner in this project. He's an architect. He's a transit designer. That's all the architecture he does. Transportation architect.
I'd like to know a little about Mark Probst. He's worked with us and his team on all of our multiple transit stations. These guys are experts. They do all of the modeling and traffic and data analysis for your transfer center, the number of buses needed, the number of stops needed, the number of passengers accommodated. They're real sharp with what they do, and they've been a real key asset to our teams. Okay, Kate, I'd like to talk a little about specifically for this project. We have the capacity to do this work as we have a big office and staff. We have over 20 employees. We've completed over 600 projects, including 10+ transit-related projects. 3 or 4 major transfer centers and multimodal transportation centers, and plus some other related projects. As we know, we have 3 offices, 2 in the valley. Right now, we've assessed our workload, and we know that we have the capacity and the staff, because of recently completed projects, to perform this on time and meet your schedule. We know that for sure. We'll be producing this project using building information modeling, along with the transportation software modeling that WSP will use. As you can see here, some examples of what the building information modeling can do to solve problems before they arise in buildings. Project schedule, this is a standard, we can follow a standard project schedule that starts with project initiation and programming. But if you look at number 2 there, the design charrette, that's really what we would focus on in our design effort. What we do in a design charrette here is we come to the city of Harlingen, we sit in City Hall or wherever you designate the place to be. We sit down with the key stakeholders, the head of transportation, maintenance, mayor, city council, whoever you want to be in the room, and we design in the room with you guys there. So that portion of the design is done in the room with the city stakeholders. So when we leave and we have a drawing that day, you guys say, that's what we approved, that's what we designed with you in the room. We don't go back to our offices and say, oh, here's a design, we did it in a bubble. We make sure that we get 100% consensus. We do that in all of our major projects. We do it in the Valley every week. We have the ability to meet your schedules or compress schedules if necessary. That's what our big staff has helped us to do. Here's a list of projects we completed within schedule recently. A lot of these are in the Valley. Cost control. Here's another major list of, these are just recent projects that have come in within budget, within 1% of budget or under budget, all for public entities. Here's some specific project experience. You're looking at the Corpus Christi Regional Transportation Authority building in Corpus Christi. This is a $23 million facility that housed local government entities. There was also a major transfer station, the biggest transfer station in the city of Corpus Christi. We did this with Mark Probst and his team. It turned out to be a fantastically successful project. We get all kinds of recognition for it. Some of the space was used for other governmental entities that I mentioned. Here you can see from the top, we have the office building itself and the major 8-bus transfer station that functions really well. It's the biggest transfer station in the city. Here's some images of the exterior of the building. Here's the transfer station where we used a concrete wave to represent Corpus Christi. We used all of the transfer station as Wi-Fi, as a place for the bus drivers to sit, drink coffee, use the restroom, well lit. It's very secure, very successful, 100% ADA accessible. Universal access is important in transportation centers. As you can see, the waiting room is really nice, has a really cool interactive touch screen. We had to maintain some of the existing architecture. Here's the boardroom. It turned out to be a beautiful boardroom, well used by local government entities all over the city. I'll hurry it so we don't run out of time here. But very widely successful project. We also did the City of South Padre Island Multimodal Transit Center, which also turned out to be very successful. It's currently under consideration for a LEED certification, leadership in energy and environmental design. It turned out to be a great project. Juan, you want to talk a little bit about the project?
So as you can see from the side here, it's a tide wedge of property there in South Padre Island. This was funded by TechStyle, so there was a lot of interlocal agreements, but also a lot of discussion and coordination with TechStyle to make sure that they had to improve whatever was done. This was done in phases. The first phase was just the parking lot. The second phase introduced the building and the bus stations. And then the third phase, which is recognized, is an additional parking space for other people to come in and park and more stuff. But it's widely used by the community as well. We were asked to provide this coastal look that they wanted, and so the design was kind of focused on that. You can see it's centrally located. As you drive into the island, it's a very, very visible building, but it's also a very successful building as well. So they're still working on some of the stuff that the candidates still want to build. And again, it's just spaced out because of the funding. The city, I don't think, paid a dime in this. It was mostly all funded by TechStyle. So because of that, there was a lot of coordination that even happened with TechStyle and their approval.
You know, and there's 2 points to make on that. I want to, first of all, it needs to be LEED certified because that was part of the funding from TechStop and the Federal Transportation Agency. And we are LEED experts and certified LEED architects. And the other is, if you look at the different architecture that we're showing you, we designed for the community and the site and the surroundings. Okay. So, sir, question. You mentioned LEED.
I can describe it out. LEED is a certification process from the United States Green Building Council, and it was set up a few years back to rate sustainability in facilities. At one point, all federal facilities were required to meet LEED standards. So it means you reduce the amount of water you consume, reduce the amount of electricity you consume, your impact on the environment. Yes, it's a very smart building. Energy efficient. Leadership in energy and environmental design. You have to go through a certification process as a professional, which me and a number of our staff have, and then you have to go through a difficult certification process for the building. For this building, it was required because they use federal dollars, and we've done it for about 5 or 6, probably more buildings than anybody else has done. So this is one of the things.
Yeah, and the reason I was brought it up is because a lot of state funded or federally funded projects, which I assume has some of that, is going to require LEED certification. We are LEED certified. I'm going to move quickly, sorry. 5 minutes.
This is an additional project that we did for the Corpus Christi Regional Transportation Authority a number of years ago. This was a maintenance facility as well as an office building so we've worked with the transportation organizations for a long time. We know what buses need, we know the spaces required, we know that if they need maintenance, how big the facilities need to be, things of that nature. It's not like designing a police station or something like that. This is a unique animal, if you will.
So real quickly, this is the East Transit Station in the city of Bronzeville. This is also Texas funded, and there's quite a bit of discussion going on. This is currently in construction, and I was awarded to a local contractor. And we were asked to kind of mimic the new canopy that the New York one has. The airport is about maybe an eighth of a mile away from here, so we were asked to kind of mimic that. But it is a transit station. You can see the cars on the country, so it's got to have this kind of modern look to it. It's got to be classical facility.
So you see the difference in architecture between this one and the city of South Padre Island, but that was what the owner and the constituents wanted.
And that model makes this job look easy, but that's more complicated than you can think. You have to know the height of these bus clearances. You have to know how far these canopies have to extend in order to protect people in wheelchairs as they get off the buses. It's a unique type of architecture that we have experienced.
So our partners, if I haven't said it already, our partners are the leaders in transportation, but also in low emission and no emission transportation. That is where the future is going. That is where the buses are going to be funded from low emission and no emission. We suggest if we work with you, that we can equip your multimodal with that for little or no cost, or when those mandates come down in the next 10 years, it's a good point and be able to, I don't know if anybody in the transportation area is here, but low emissions and low emissions. Not maybe, it's when. These are some smart operations buildings by partners all over the United States that I wanted to show you. I didn't ask Mark to be here because it was only a 15-minute presentation, but these are throughout the United States. That's the thing that they do. Okay, so hopefully I have a couple of minutes. It's all about circulation. Circulation is the key in multimodal. We did a study for the Corpus Christi Transit Authority, and when we did master plan their campus, by improving on the circulation, we saved over $50,000 a year in man hours and fuel, just because of the routes that they have to do within their own campus. We have to accommodate transit vehicles, taxis, private vehicles, motorcycles, and all of this is what we're accommodating in South Padre Island, by the way. Passengers, employees, sighting, and egress. And future, this is what I just discussed. We want to future-proof your multimodal so it complies with what the future, and the future is pretty much now and in the next 5 to 10 years. Sustainability, Nick was alluding to it with LEED. Any federal funds or TxDOT funds are going to require us to be very sustainable. If the city is, you probably already are sustainable. Energy modeling, stormwater management, daylighting, natural ventilation, shading, water harvesting, etc. And safety and security, of course, paramount in these facilities. And these are some of the checklists of the things that we have to take care of in a multimodal center.
We learned a lot of lessons on safety and security at the last 2 projects we've done. As we were designing and constructing these projects, there was a lot of national security issues going on. And so mid-design, we were learning about sight lines, we were learning about communication devices, we were learning about lighting at night for these transfer stations are important because activities happen there that you don't want to happen. So we learned a lot of lessons.
So, and I mentioned this earlier, I forgot we had a slide alluding to it. This is the difference in the aesthetic between one transportation center and one and the other. One wanted a very contemporary look in the middle of the downtown that was run down. The other wanted a more of a coastal look in kind of the welcome to South Padre Island.
Note that Raymond from Harlingen, went to high school in Harlingen, first job in Harlingen. So he knows Harlingen, so hopefully the building he designed can fit Harlingen and the needs of this new community.
Recap is there for you, region, but we are from here, we're local. We feel like we have a lot of transportation experience and we teamed up with probably the most renowned transportation architects in the United States.
Questions? Anybody have any questions for Mac?
We're perfect.
All right, we didn't have any
No,
questions
I-
for the other folks either. So
Thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you all for your time.
Consider us, we'd like to help you. Thanks so much.
See you.
So there's no selection going on today. so- So this is just for presentations only. Hope you remember the different firms that presented. Because we will have an action item on the agenda for the 4th next week. So that the commission can rank the firms with letting the staff know which is the highest ranked firm, so we can begin negotiations.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Okay, I got a couple questions. You can bear with me. Kind of labeled out how everyone ranked everybody. And Ms. Hernandez, you have Janak as the lowest performer. I mean, I'm not even gonna count the Millman or whoever that is, because everybody ranked them the lowest. But you have Janak as the lowest, and I have Mr. Sanchez and Mr. Mendez have those as the highest. So I just wanted to see what dinged them, in your opinion, what deficiencies to see them cause them to drop in this product.
Well, I mean, I think there's no doubt that they have the experience. That's something that, you know, was very obvious, but I think it was more about the actual proposal, judging the proposal and how it was put together. I think for me, that was what made me not rank them as high in comparison to the other proposals.
Give an example.
For instance, the project approach. It's something very basic. You're telling me how you're gonna kind of take the project on. And I think they focus most of the narrative on, you know, the experience aspect, which I think it's important, it's relevant, but it's not really answering the question. Or, you know,
But
or
as
the
far as
RFQ.
your performance of being on time, on budget, that kind of thing, how did they rank in your estimation?
That was unclear to me. It wasn't, they were not ranked as high in that area because it wasn't clear in terms of the timelines for the project. So that's a quadrilateral project. I'm not sure that it was completed on time based on the information. that was provided.
And so I know Mr. Logan's on here, but okay, so the opposite question now is with Able, because you and Mr. Logan also, they ranked Able as the top.
Mhm.
What did you see that, how do you know, what
No,
supports that? I mean, like, what stands out?
I think I understand your question. So no, they were very thorough. They were very specific. They answered the question. And I think for me, that was very important.
Right.
They-
And their performance as far as, again, what I look at always is the time, budget,
Right.
you know, needs, and then if they would meet needs, they're qualified enough to do the job. Right?
Yeah, no, they're a national firm. They're very qualified.
Okay. Okay, and it's Carlos, you had Able as the lowest. And so what, same question to you is, what dinged them, in your opinion, that the deficiencies that showed them as the lowest performer?
From what I recall, Commissioner, and again, it's been a couple of weeks that I looked at the proposals. The factors, the criteria that we were provided had certain items that called for example, a timeframe, if it was proposed or shown as part of the RFQ packet. If it was or if it wasn't, I can't recall at this point the specifics because there's, I think, there's 5 criteria points and then each one of them had different items under you. And so once you collect them all together, then it kind of adds up. And so if some of the areas were kind of subjective and so it was kind of hard to distinguish. If they addressed it, for example, in their proposal, then they would get points. If they didn't touch on it, then you would minimize the number of points that you were given based on that category that it, there's categories that you could get up to 20 points or assign points to that category. And then you have a breakdown that had 4 or 5 points, and those small ones was where it was difficult to make that distinguish. That so it was kind of subjective as to whether what makes a difference between a 3 and a 5 or something.
So that's my concern is you have 2 of the 4, have one company at the highest, and that same company's the lowest, in the other 2, and then it's the exact opposite of the other. So my concern with the ranking system where it's presented now is either they're a really top performer or they're not, and the ones that are kind of out in the middle is the one that gets outranked. But it doesn't answer the question of, are they, again, are they the best qualified for the job? Or can they do the job? Is this their expertise? Because I want to use the best possible person for the job. But at the same time, the best possible person may not be able to do that on time or on budget and everything else. So that's the questions I had. And I was hoping that.
I think
I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know if it'll help. We have the actual scoring sheet. So essentially, the area that got you the most points was the quality of the proposal, basically answering all the technical details about, addressing the scope of work, which was very important to us. That's 30 points. The qualifications of the key personnel, that's 20 points. Past performance, 25 points, and design, 15 points, and the ability to meet schedules and deadlines, that's 10 points. So we have- Past performance was based on 2 factors. And so one was whether they had sufficient experience managing similar contracts for other cities. And that was important. A lot of people have experience, but not necessarily working with municipalities, right? And so we determined that as being 2 past municipal projects within the last 5 years. And then demonstrates substantial evidence on meeting client satisfaction based on references.
Because it is a specific field, right? That has a lot of factors involved. It's a whole different animal. Right?
Well, a couple of things, 2 of them pointed out to me that I picked up on, federal compliance.
Right.
Because these are federal dollars, right? Federal compliance is critical. And 2 of them brought it up. That's number 3, Able City, and number 4, Connect. And so the design also criteria to comply with those requirements. So 2 of them brought that up, number 2 and number 4. So I will tell you that we're fortunate enough that these folks responded to the RFQ because any one of these 3 can probably do the job.
Right.
The top 3. So it's really up to the city council, how you all want to rank them. And then we'll start negotiations with the first one, and hopefully we can get to some type of an agreement.
One of them brought up the point of what's their schedule like now? If they have a lot of, if they're gonna be able to fit into their, even if they're the most qualified, I think that's an important question.
Well, and we're gonna have to have a good sit down with them because at some point we're gonna have to go over our budget. We have grant money that we secured for this project already.
And what's the budget on?
It was like 5.6 million. And keep in mind that our match, because Tom Logan was able to work through some magic. And so we were able to use the purchase of the property as our match. But I don't think you can go wrong with top 3 or the top 4, to be honest with you. It's just a matter of who do we pick. But I do think that it should be unique to Harlingen. It should not mirror somebody else's design. It should be a design for our city that is not, well, it's just like the one, this is Harlingen.
And so that was one of the factors also taken into account, the schedule, right? The
So
workload,
the schedule,
but everybody we're
budget,
available and ready to
schedule, the
go.
budget.
They're always gonna say that.
Yeah.
Well, I think they're all capable, they're all really close. If you go, I did the same thing that you did, and sort of just sort of, how many number 1, how many number 1s, how many 2s, how many 3s, how many 4s, right? And so, Jack had 2 number 2s, with the selection, right? Jack first, 2 the selection, right? Naval first, but EXD, there were no number 4s. So really, the 3 that are the closest, you could if you add them up, you go with the lowest number is the top one. XP had 9, McGretty has 12, Jack had 9, they had 8, so you have 3 that are just like neck and neck in terms of consensus. That's sort of, I think, the one at the bottom.
Right.
But the other 3 are really neck and neck in terms of the consensus of the percentage.
I will say,
That was my question, are they being dinged for like ticky tack stuff?
no,
Or is it real meaty stuff?
I think these rankings are subjective, Commissioner, and I suspect that if I took the responses and I gave each one of the commission, you all would come up with different rankings.
Right.
Because it's how you interpret what you're reading, and that's why you don't have one person do it, you have multiple people do it.
Right.
So that it's an average up, right? I will say that Tom did let me know that Negrete is the one that did the one in Edgewood. And it's a nice facility, but that project dragged on
Yeah, that's important.
very long. And they were way over time, weren't they?
Right. It was started in 2014, it was completed last year.
So, yeah, so it just took a little bit of time. So that was one of the things that Tom wanted for me to know. He goes, not that it's a beautiful facility. I walked through it.
Yeah,
It's a
I
beautiful-
was, so just the way I looked at it, I was looking at Janak and Hazel.
Janak and Apple City, and
Janak and
you can rank the top 2. We can negotiate with the top 2.
That's who I saw. I mean,
But Richard, you weren't here for the first person.
no, I know, but I'm going on how they ranked because they had a more, it's difficult to go off a presentation, a 15-minute presentation, when they deep dive into every single category. That's why I was asking the question, how are you, where's the point spread? And when the 2 ranked this one really high and the exact, they just had the opposite view on both. The same top 2. That's how I looked at, I think you give, in my thought process, you give Carlos and Javier's top pick and Mr. Logan's and Mr. Hernandez's top pick the most consideration, and then you dissect that even more because obviously in their vision, that's who did the best.
And this is going to be a very important project. You gentlemen are privy to a conversation regarding what could happen next. And so this is a catalyst for what happens next, right? And so, you want to pick that firm that's going to be privy to those conversations so that they understand that there's more to this to come.
Right. So that's, I'm putting a lot of weight on your all's evaluation. Not so much of like, because anybody can put a pretty presentation together. It's the meat of it, right? And we haven't.
Right, and Gannett built a fire station on Route 189 for us. They built the fire station on Glasscock.
Yeah.
That was that for us.
Okay, so why don't we take a 2-minute break? And you want to get a sandwich, and I think I'm gonna get a sandwich.
This is going to be for the section. Oh, good. So
Thank you so much. I'll let you know about.
That's the wrap. Good job, honey.
Thank you so much.
Nobody else is back.
Each one? think I wrote on mine.
When you got your back to school.
I got,
Oh, yeah.
not this, I got one more week.
It's just for
Yeah.
teachers.
Yeah, on the ninth. After the kids go back on the 16th. They go back to wearing masks.
Yeah.
What's scary is.
Where are they?
What's scary is that we might have to.
Yeah, we all need to be here. This is a budget workshop. We. I didn't see how many were here. That's not the right way to do it. Supposed to have the department head here to see all the facts. Miriam, no other needs? Gotta go through a quick walk, you know, they gotta get tired. And the agenda on. Kind of keep it short. Couldn't do it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's, I was waiting for the phone call. I've been down there twice already. I'm waiting for the phone call.
So we can sort of,
Where'd Amanda go?
get everybody except Amanda.
Amanda? Coming down? Wait, just parts we got. The minutes. Yeah, we got, let me go get. Yeah, the phone's up here. Oh. Oh. That's your phone. Oh, yeah, yeah. They went to go get Amanda.
I was driving there yesterday and it happened to be next to your wife. And so I saw her turn the cut on. She was coming out of the bank. I do that to everybody. I'm like, really? What's this house? Or really, the plant? Really? I like,
Danny, you gonna be my binder to answer questions?
oh, yeah.
All right, sir. Okay, man.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
All right.
Okay, everybody's here. So we're gonna item 2. Discussion on the city of Harlingen proposed budget for fiscal year 21-22. Dan?
Mayor Commissioners, we've gone through 2 budget workshops, this is the third and final budget workshop. What I'm hoping to come away from this workshop is a consensus on the budget overall. And then we're going to talk about the tax rate calculations that we're going to be presenting on next week. So we did get the certified tax roll late last week, and Robert's been able to work on those numbers. There's a formula that has to be used. So this budget is based on a certain tax rate, and so we're going to go over that in just a minute. It's just an overview. I'm not going to go over all the slides that we did before. Not working. Can you? Thank you. So again, 2.5 million budgeted for street maintenance, purchase of street sweeper, got some funding in there for drainage projects, enhanced public safety. I'm not going to go through all those. We talked about those before. I really want to focus on the salary and benefit increases. So we did, City Council approved an agreement, a 3-year agreement with our firefighters, 3% increase per year for 3 years. That is already included in the budget, the 3% for next year. We also have included in the budget a 2% increase for our police officers as part of the agreement that was approved last year. I am asking, and have included in this budget proposal, I'm asking City Council to consider giving the police officers 1 additional percent so that they also get 3% starting October 1st. And there's also a 3% across the board salary increase for non-civil service employees. All of that is in the budget already. So what we expect to start at the beginning of the year is about 23.1 million. Revenues is projected at 49.7, expenditures at 51.3. So we are expenditures over revenues of $1.556 million. We expect to take that out of fund balance for an ending fund balance projected at the end of 2022 September at 21.6. Or is that a 5? 6. Let me bring my glasses.
Yeah.
But it's 154 days of operations. Again, these are the positions, City Council, we've been discussing. The City Secretary Administrative positions in there, Grant Specialist, MIS, City Communications Personnel, Booking Officer, converting 8 part-time parks positions to full-time positions, another Animal Control Officer, and then sanitation, solid waste driver. You can stop me if I'm going too fast at any time. We've talked about these before. This is just a summary of all the one-time, non-recurring purchases that are included in the budget. One thing that I want to point out is in the slide number 3. So you see this breakdown, you have all these dollar amounts. These are all one-time costs. In this slide here, I included the cost of opening the Executive 9, the golf course. That is a one-time cost of $160,000.
What does that cover?
That covers the, I'm gonna give them a fast over. That covers the fairway mower, the zero turn rough mower, and 10 golf carts. 123, and then the $37,000 to get the irrigation heads, and that's for a total of 160. Now, the recurring cost is not 160. The recurring cost is about $90,000. So we brought that down. Basically, we're going to spruce it up, get the irrigation back up and running, improve the greens, and we started that work already, some of that. You go back up.
Going back to this additional cost, has this been added to the budget or this is something we?
No, it's already included in this budget proposal. So we included it here. And so you see the one-time cost is $1.585 million. And so the benefit of that is that we're actually only taking 1,556 out of the fund balance. So you never want to take, you never want to have that non-recurring cost not be able to cover from one-time expenses out of the fund balance. Moving forward. So this is the budget reductions by department. You can see that we funded almost all the requests. And this is general fund. And these are the non-funded items. We talked about this already, the drone camera or the drones. And so these haven't changed. Revenues for the general fund. Property tax rate based on the certified tax rolls at 19. Robert, you're gonna have to help me. 566.
566, 763.
Sales tax at 20,148,756. And you can see the rest of it broken down for a total of 49,778,844. And you can see the budget comparison. So on the property tax, when we got the certified tax rolls, our growth came down to 1.96% growth. Sales tax, we're projecting a 4% growth. And you can see the rest of these broken down for the $49.778 million for revenue.
Can I ask you a question on this type? On the sales tax growth, what is the growth of that? Maybe 3 or 4 years? What have we been averaging?
Last year, we were at negative 1.23%. So far this year, I think we are at 15, 16%. 15, yeah. But this year has been a very strong year compared to that.
So it's
And the year prior.
But that's conservative.
But yes, oh yes. And so the year prior, I think we were about 5%. So we budget pretty conservative. What you don't want to do is over exaggerate that number and then find out you're way under. Matter of fact, I'll be honest with you. Typically, I project about a 3% growth. I stretched it out a little bit at 4%. And Robert had a lot of sleepless nights over that. Expenditures 51.334. You see the breakdown, capital outlay, personnel cost is the bulk of it. We talked about these slides already. So this is the breakdown on personnel costs. You have police and fire that takes up, that's 69% of the personnel costs for the general fund department. And the rest of the departments are listed there. Expenditure budget comparisons compared to the current year, next year, you can see the increases for a total of $51.334 million. Special revenue budgets. This is where we have the street improvement fund, the infrastructure, 2.5 million. We had a typo in the budget binders and the previous presentations. We actually did not have the 2.5 million. We were short on revenue. So what we did, we had 442,000 in fund balance, and we moved that over and we used it, 440,000. And so we were able to make out at 2.5. We want to allocate 2.5 for streets based on the streets that were approved by the city commission already. These are the enterprise funds, the municipal auditorium, the solid waste department, Arts and Heritage Museum, and then the golf course. You can see the golf course is at 1.331 in revenue and 1.331 in expenditures. Of the 1.331 in revenue,
443, 957.
is coming from the general fund, but 160 of that is one time.
So you're planning on a golf course loss of 846,000 for the
No,
fiscal year?
that's their
The ending
fund balance
ending
sheet.
fund balance.
Okay. And will we ever zero that fund balance out, or how does that fund balance get
That-
zeroed?
That fund balance can only be zeroed out by the general fund.
And have you included taking 846,000 from general fund, to pay this off?
I have not.
Consider doing a portion of it over the next.
This is a balanced budget. If we can take money out of the fund balance and move it into this, but I will tell you that
Well, it's money that's already been spent from the general fund. That's how.
So
that's
it's
how
just
you
an IOU.
keep accumulate- Yeah, keep accumulated, so there's no reason to.
I would just leave that IOU out there. At some point, we're gonna have to address it.
The hope would be is that if it ever started generating positive income, then that money would go back to the general fund. But as long as this is an enterprise fund, we've already paid that 846.
It's just a line item.
It's just an,
So
it's just
with
an,
that,
Everything is clean.
it's an IOU sitting out there that we're gonna have to pay off at some point. We also increased revenues from the opening of the 9 holes. We were very conservative. We only used $50,000. We expect that to be higher, but that's what we use for that. So the rest of it came from the general. So these are the costs of Tony Butler, 219,156. That includes the equipment cost of 123. That's in the next slide. And we'll get these starting on October 1st. We'll put the order in once we have the budget approved. But these are already included in the budget proposal that I'm outlining right now.
Excuse me, I gotta interrupt you.
Sure.
As for some of the information you provided us back in a couple of weeks ago, to open the executive night, it was only gonna be 36,882. Okay, so we stay at that. Okay, the additional cost in IR, you got, you're looking at about 174. But it's also been proposed that we can save close to 100,000 if we only use about 74,000. Okay, I'm looking at this annual recurring operating expenses. Going back to page 18, my information as to two individuals, we can do without the fairway mower and the rough mower and the 10 golf carts. The reason we can do away with the golf carts, we don't know we're going to get 100% of everybody that was there 2 years ago. And everything else works out to where all of this can be put on the next year's budget. We're just trying to get by this year. We're looking at 5 holes that need to be brought up to speed. 4 holes they've already been maintained. So out of the 18, we had another 4, and we have grand total of 22 holes that are still being kept up with. The only thing that we need is 5 holes that need to be maintained, brought up to speed, so we can open the 9 holes. This would give the golfers and ourselves a little breathing room, bring in some revenue, and not put so much onto this budget. Is that possible? Remove some of this stuff that's here.
So
This is, just to be clear, this one is for next year's budget.
This is for next year's
this
budget.
is for October 1st.
Starting
October 1st is the start of our new year.
Correct. But instead of October 1st of 2021, move this to October 2022. Let's see how this, opening these 5 holes and getting 9 holes up to speed.
And I've stated this before, Commissioner, we've got to get the tools to the staff out there in order to do the job. But I respect the wisdom of the commission. Anything you want to cut, we will certainly cut. I am recommending what we put up there so that we can do the job at minimum. This is for 4 part-time employees, not even full-time employees. I cut that out.
Okay.
I use 4 part-time employees. I'm providing them with a fairway mower because what we're doing right now with the 18 is that we're doing a much better job of maintaining the 18. And so when we start spreading those employees thin, we're gonna be right back to where we were before.
But you're not doing 18, you're actually maintaining currently
Oh,
22 holes. Right?
So we're doing a fair job of maintaining 22. We start spreading them up thinner than that, everything's gonna suffer. And what I'm saying is that 4 part-timers, 1 fairway mower, 1 zero-turn mower, and 10 golf carts. If we're gonna get more play on that side, we're gonna have to provide them with carts because Jeff will tell, well, he's not here. Well, Jeff will tell you, he must have left. So Jeff will tell you that we're running out of carts on during the winter months. And that's really what we're kind of earmarking this to, right, the winter months.
I'm looking at 50,000 on the golf carts. There's not 100% guarantee that we're gonna get everybody playing, league play back in a couple of months. Okay, so do we actually need to spend 50,000 or can we just try to get by for this winter and next winter? We can add the 10 carts.
So
I have a question for you. So you said 2 people have advised you. Who are these 2 people? and what
Chris
is their
Mullins.
status?
And Tim Elliott. Okay.
Who's Chris Mullins? Does he work for the golf course?
No, he's on the advisory board.
Okay.
Okay, and so is Tim Elliott.
Okay.
So I'm getting this not out of the pie in the sky.
Yeah.
I'm talking to people that have put something on writing and said, look, we can try to get by. What they're trying to do, in essence, is trying to do more with less. And that's what we're looking at. That's what we should all be looking at.
I respect the wisdom of the commission, and if the commission is asking me to take that line item off, we certainly take it off.
Let's hear what Javier has to say.
Yeah, I was just gonna mention, like on the fairway mower, we have 1 fairway mower right now, which is brand new. It just went down last week. So we had to send that back. They lend us a loaner right now. So if the company did not have a loaner, we would be out of luck. So we do need a fairway mower as a backup.
And we're using our greens mowers on these holes, right? We're not buying any new greens mower. We're gonna,
That's correct.
Jeff said that he can utilize what he has. But, you know, this is what we're saying, Commission, this is what we're recommending that we get so that we can reopen them, so that we can maintain them in a way that's suitable for play.
You know, Commissioner, I think what you're suggesting is really something to consider. And I think, I know what you're trying to do, and that's, and it makes sense, but, you know, I'm not, you know, you heard me, I'm not really in favor of reopening 9 holes, but I think if you're going to do it, if we are going to do it, I'm going to support the decision of the commission. And if we're going to do it, let's do it right. And let's get the extra mower and let's get the extra golf carts. And he's already programmed it into the budget. Makes sense to me that if we're gonna do it, let's not try to, you know, let's try to make it a success. We're gonna do it, let's try to make it a success. That's all I would suggest.
We're still gonna have to spend that anyway.
Yeah, we have to, and these are part-time employees, these are 4 part-time employees. All I'm saying is that we have to give those guys out there that are doing the work. I mean, we can sit here and say, I know they can do it, you know, but physically, the mowers can only go so fast and the employees can only work so much. And the benchmarks, based on the benchmarks that we have, and they're very strong benchmarks, I would say. What they do is a lot more than I anticipated that they do. These benchmarks that we use to come up with these numbers are very, very good benchmarks. And we know that we need some help, Commissioner. If we don't get the help, all of it is gonna suffer. And then you're gonna ask me, why are the conditions getting worse?
Trust me, I won't be doing that because I'll look at myself and say, I messed up. I won't be doing that. I don't care.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, and everybody understands that. You would take responsibility for it. I just think, you know, and whatever the rest of the commission wants to do is fine. But, you know, I think we could, and I think what you're suggesting is something that we all need to do. And that is, you know, to try to push ourselves. I think we push these guys. I think we push these guys pretty good. So, but it makes sense to me. What Javier is saying is, if we've got, you know, we probably need another mower. We need a backup mower. So that makes sense.
How about we can always compromise? I kind of agree that to make it easier, we're gonna spend it, but we're gonna open it, might as well do it right. I agree with that. I agree with the mower, the rough mower will do that, but how we're supposed to save money, because we want to keep it low. How about instead of doing the 10 golf courses, how about we just do 5? And that saves about $25,000. And
You can do anything you want.
All right.
You know, we had 20, that's what Jeff was asking for. We went to 10. We absolutely can go to 5.
we have 65, right? Golf courses?
Yeah, but what's happening, Commissioner, in the winter months? He's running out. As it is right now, he's running. I've got, it's in matter of fact, it's been in the monthly reports.
The winter Texas.
Yeah, so
The whole thing is.
he's telling me that hey, I ran out of cards, and it's a problem.
If
I know, I'm getting a.
things were to work out. Okay. And we have these part-timers, hopefully they can turn them around pretty fast, so they can be used again. Back in a couple of weeks ago, the 15th, there was something down here that I'm very curious about. The purchase of a real sharpener.
We bought that already.
Okay. That can be used, we can not rent it out, but we can use it to wood sharpen others, right?
So we're doing that.
Okay, what's the cost? XYZ comes in and says, look, I need you to.
Well, we're gonna state it right now, Commissioner. We're gonna start charging them $5,000. Just joking. But no, but how much are we gonna charge? We're gonna do an ordinance, right?
Right, we're gonna create an ordinance, so we haven't been able to have a regular meeting for the advisory board to present this fee schedule to them. But I want to say it was $35 per reel that we're gonna charge
35?
outside.
I thought it would be like $100 and some odd dollars.
No, this is per blade, per bed, well, I think they call them bed
There's
knives.
multiple
Is
blades.
that in mind?
There's multiple blades on this
What
one.
it costs?
I'm sorry?
Is that in mind, when anywhere else, is that in mind what?
Right, so that's what Austin Turf and Tractor charges everybody else, and so we want to be in line with them.
So right now, everybody in the valley, nobody has one.
Right.
Has to send them out, including us. Now that we have one, instead of them sending them to Austin for the
Does
35
China-
bucks, we're
does
gonna
China
charge
do that?
35 bucks.
Okay, how soon
They
can we
sharpen
get
their
that
blades.
ordinance? It just,
Well, you know, if you can't get a quorum of the golf advisory board, just bring it to city council and let's get it approved.
you know, all we need is just make a phone call. Because I tell you what I would do. I'd get a hold of these two individuals and make sure that we're online. Why them? Because they're part of the advisory board. If we have boards, I feel that we need to consult with them to a certain degree and get their input. Otherwise, we could be out in la la land and they might know a lot more than we give them credit. That's why I'm asking.
I agree with Frank, and I think what we should do is with the recommendations that they're going with right now, I think we should just go ahead and move forward. I know 50,000 doesn't sound like a whole lot, but when you look at the big picture, the entire budget is kind of minimum.
You mean Frank Morales, not Frank Whitner, right? Just want to make sure.
Besides, the city of Lyford, Mayor Salinas is gonna pay for half this.
Yeah, I think you're gonna do an interlocal and contribute.
You'll be able to
So,
do that.
because the original amount was a lot more, right? It's like 170 something.
Oh, yeah, so it was much higher.
So it has gone down to one.
So this line item alone was $100,000. Just by itself.
So that
Yeah.
we voted
Yeah, she
to
already cut those.
expand the
Cut the golf course
business.
by half.
And when a business expands, there's costs associated with building a business. Right, and so once again, we could do stuff half-assed or we could do it well.
But you don't want to overshoot that and say, we're gonna get $100,000 worth of inventory when all we are going to sell is 25,000. That's my point.
We're
We lost-
inviting-
We lost out in a year or 2 years, we lost out on the winter Texas. How sure are we going to? What's the security? What's the security that we're going to get 100% of them back this time around?
There is no security in any business.
So that's why we want to play it a little conservative, not too conservative, but conservative to build it up again. That's all I'm asking.
So we're throwing a party and saying everybody's welcome.
Bring your own.
But yeah, but there's not enough this or that or this or that for welcome to our party.
Yeah, but if we
And
had that
people
party
Okay, well,
going.
we need to try to come to a consensus on this
It-
particular
If this
line.
is a sticking point,
No, well, let's just like, you know, how they say it's you're in for, was it in for a penny in for a pound?
Yeah,
We went down there, we're bringing up the golf course, we're doing it.
Yeah.
And let's just, you know, just give them all, in other words, let's just give Jeff and everybody else, there he is. All the tools that they needed. We're in it already, dude. So might as well, the point is, we did bring it down. It was at 172 or 174, we brought it down to, it's down to 123, because originally they wanted 20 golf carts, so they cut it down to 10. And just give it to them. I mean, we're there.
Commissioner, all we're saying is that we want to
Yeah.
succeed. We want you to let us
yeah,
help
so
us
Mike, do you agree
succeed.
with Renee? Do you agree with Renee? I mean,
Yeah, this is already a compromise and Winter Texans, you know, they're not gonna sling the bag on their back and walk those.
You
I
know, the
mean,
point is,
we're
we got
talking
what we
older
wanted, we're
people.
opening up the golf course.
Frank, do you agree with Renee?
We're opening up the golf course and just
yes.
Okay,
Okay,
so we'll leave it in there. I'm sure we're gonna have a little more discussion in just a minute. So the health insurance, we're picking up the difference for the
I mean,
employees.
that's a good point, Commissioner. I appreciate you bringing it up.
Yes.
It's good. We ought to have these discussions. But I think they've got the direction now. For the commission.
We're gonna be mindful, sir. We are. So for for next year, 2022, we're projecting revenues at, I'm sorry. At 95,451,079, expenditures at 97,630,591. Revenues over expenditures 2.1, coming from different fund balance, if you see them there.
And going back to the question I had earlier, hopefully your sales tax revenue will be higher than 4%, and that'll contribute to the negative.
That's what we hope.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
yes, okay.
So shop Harlingen and buy online.
Yeah, we're
Eat
still
eat
getting
at
sales tax.
restaurants in Harlingen.
We're still getting sales tax. So on the M and O, that's maintenance and operations. That's basically what we use for operating the city. So for next year, the budget is based on 18,692,069 in M and O. The INS is our debt service. You gotta pay your bonds, you gotta pay your bills. $3.9 million for total 22,592. That's what this budget is based on. So I'll let Robert go over the calculations based on Senate Bill 2. And you see that no new revenue tax rate is here. This is what our budget is based on. That's that middle number. That's the current tax rate. And this is the tax rate that we can go up to without going to the voters. We're staying under that rate.
That's correct. Thank you, Dan. So we did receive our certified totals on Friday, late Friday, and we used the Texas Comptroller website worksheet to calculate the property tax. So the first step in calculating the property tax is to ensure that we have enough coverage in our debt service so that we can make our debt service payments going forward. So last year, our debt service was at 9 cents, and this year it must be at 10.107 cents so that we can cover our debt service going forward. So the remainder of the calculated tax rate minus the INS debt service tax rate will flow into the M&O. So the first one is a no new revenue tax rate, which used to be called the effective tax rate, and that was the same amount of revenue that you had in the prior year. The voter approval rate is the highest that we can go without going to with an election for the voters to approve, and that rate is at 0.628712. So with that at the highest and 0.612828 as the no new revenue rate, this budget is calculated with what our current tax rate is, which is 0.619849. So that's the rate that mirrors what's in the budget.
So we say the same.
We're recommending to stay the same answer.
What's the dollar amount between what you're recommending and the rate we could go to?
This difference, a penny is 357,000?
It's about, I think it's about 357, but if you see at the bottom, the total collections, that 22,915,470. So if you go to the highest voter approval rate, that would generate a total tax revenue of 22,915,470 compared to what we have budgeted for with our current rate of 22,592,393.
So it's about $300,000.
Yeah.
So, but what we base this budget on
Yes,
is,
Understood. I just want to make sure.
we're not going to that line. We're staying below that. And this is very important. If there's any comments, please, now's the time, because we've got to start publishing, starting after next week. We're gonna vote it to the city commission, and do the first two public hearings to set up the two public hearings that we're required to have by law. And it'll be based on each rate.
And so we're looking once again at certified totals at current rate 2022.
Yes.
Yeah, we're looking at that.
That's fine, right?
Yeah.
So, and basically the hearing will be to say that we are going to have increased revenues, but we're not going to increase the tax rate.
Tax rate.
So we have increased revenues, but we also have increased expenditures.
So legally, we can go to this right here and generate another $300,000 without going to the voters. But we worked the budget and we made some cuts, you all saw it. And we took $1.5 million out of fund balance.
Question. That's $300,000 difference between what's being collected. The difference between the 4% and the 5% would be for each additional percent would increase how much?
No, that's sales tax.
Yes.
So sales tax is different. This is property tax. So sales tax, what's it, 1%?
Yeah, what is it? Come on, you're messing.
No, that would be like, sorry, now we go.
How was your budget answer that?
No, it was different.
Property
This is property tax.
tax. and
Property
sales
tax. What are you asking?
The sales tax percentage.
Oh,
We increased by 1%. What is that? What is that?
190,000.
190,000?
So let's say $200,000 per percent. Right?
I would not recommend changing.
No.
that.
I'm just seeing how much closer.
You know, it scares me to put yourself out there too
We had
far.
like right now, we're doing a 50% increase, right?
Yeah,
So we're averaging.
but 15% over a year, that was horrible.
Yeah,
I
so,
understand.
so, border cities are different than the rest of the state of Texas. We rely more on retail sales tax than we do on property tax. The other, the metro areas rely more on property tax than they do on retail sales tax. So we're really, so that property tax you can really count on, but sales tax, not so much. And so while Harlingen has actually been pretty consistent over the years in increasing, it's still one of those things that's much more elastic than the property tax. So that's why I think consistently we've always been very conservative in budgeting. And then hopefully, it goes up 8% instead of 4%. And then you have, but you always have stuff, there's always plenty to spend money on.
Well, what we had in the last year was cash and checks by the government.
Yeah, so I mean, right, last year showed us, because we were, concerned about, losing as much as 20%. I think EDC was budgeting
So we ended up at
more than that, less.
a negative 1%, which was fantastic.
Yeah, so we were.
But even this year,
We did well.
you've had a month of 42%, and then the following month was 14%. And so it's pretty volatile sometimes. And so putting yourself out there too far,
Yes, sir.
that's for those scared.
But the thing also about sales taxes is the virus never went away. And it's coming back now with the vengeance, with the new mutations as well. well as the original one. And so we don't know what the trajectory of the virus will be for federal or state response, if they want to shut everything down again. So it's a huge unknown. It's a huge variable.
The other unknown is what happens after the stimulus, all the funds go away. People go back to work and they don't have the extra money. So that's something that we've talked a lot about. So what does that look like? Well, we've not experienced anything like this before, so you can't just take historical trends, right? Historical data. It's very unique. So please tell me if there's something different, because we would have to go back to cut. And today is the day to do that. Because this is the last workshop and we're out of time. We're out of time. I'm sorry to put it that way, but that's just the truth. But that's our budget presentation. You will see it again, not Wednesday, but you will see it again. So
And that's the so that's the
my
manager's proposal based upon the input of the city commission over the last month or so. That's both individual conversations you've had as well as the workshops that we've had.
we're covering drainage, potential funding to drainage grants, our matches. Covering $2.5 million for roadways, which probably one of the biggest numbers we've had, I think, ever. I think there was a year when I was public works director that we had 2.2. So this is a very good budget. And so I am strongly recommending approval.
I had a good question. It might have just been over me. Why does it say again right here, 123, and over here it says 160? What am I missing?
Oh, the 37,000. And we could pull some of that out, Commissioner, because right now we're spending March money to try to get it back up and going. But I wanted to put that in there anyway, so maybe we can help it along with other things, right? We're gonna need other parties. And once we get that irrigation system going, we're gonna need other parties.
How long is it gonna be before the golf course gets the funding?
The 1.8 is already earmarked. So we're drafting the RFQ to hire the architect, so that should be advertised starting next Sunday. So we have a special meeting set up with them for next week, Friday. I guess we're gonna ask them for the other 1.2 or whatever the case may be. And so depending on what happens in that discussion, we either move forward with the 1.8, we're gonna move forward with 1.8 anyway. We're gonna move forward no matter what. If we only get 1.8, we're gonna do as much as we can, and we're gonna do it. But the 1.2 is not in this budget. But we can do a budget amendment down the road if, as the city council decides.
Okay. Any other questions?
Are we okay?
Saying going once.
Please don't put me in a predicament when I'm trying to cut it at the
saying going
podium when
once,
I'm presenting the
going
budget.
twice.
It's too hard to do that.
Swimming pool session.
Oh. and each one- Frank, any concerns?
Right.
Not right now, but Frank? Commissioner?
Right. Good.
All
All
right.
right, sounds good.
We're done.
If there are no other questions, then I'm gonna give the rest of you, give you the rest of
You all
Friday
set?
afternoon. Everybody take Friday afternoon off. We're adjourned.
I wish Mary could take this one.
Okay, thanks.
But I have some.